Coming to you live from the palatial studios of PBJ Productions. Welcome to Patrick and BJ Talk Real Estate, where we talk about life, the universe, and everything as it relates to real estate. Hey everybody, it's BJ.
And Patrick.
And we're back talking all things real estate, and thank you for joining us, and let's get right to it today. We're talking about, what is it, 8 or 20 or how, what are we talking about?
It could end up being 20 the way we go on these lists that I've come up with.
Yeah, okay.
Where it's, sometimes it's, we get to the third one, but that's like a 3B or a 3C.
Okay.
So we might add some things as we go.
Okay.
But I've got 8 things you must know before moving to Victoria.
Okay.
So not to talk Victoria is the worst place in the world, but there's some things you need to know before getting here, just so you can your expectations are not too high, and then you're not unhappy with your move.
Yeah, and it's again, we've talked about this before, where it's a great place to live, but it's not for everybody. Just like I grew up in Edmonton, I think Edmonton is a great place to live, but it's not for everybody either.
Edmonton's not for me. Too cold for me.
Too cold.
Man.
It's not.
I'm from Ontario.
You guys got all the snow there.
Oh, we got snow. We got tornadoes. We didn't have earthquakes, and we had the lake effect. So it was extra humid and extra precipitation.
Nice.
Great thunderstorms, right? We had a thunderstorm this week. Victoria barely ever has a thunderstorm, right?
But we did have one. Actually, I was sleeping or trying to be sleeping.
Yeah, it was awesome. The first one, just rolling and rolling.
Yeah.
It was went on and on. It was great.
Yeah.
But we're talking about things that you need to know before getting here. So the first one is the high cost of living. And I think I want to clarify that a little bit, because real estate is expensive here compared to not Vancouver or Toronto, but the rest of Canada. Typically it's more expensive.
Sure.
The rent is, and at the same time, it's expensive to rent here. Mm-hmm. I found when I first moved here, food is typically more expensive than other parts in Canada.
Sure.
And the other thing was used cars.
Okay.
So if you're going to buy a used car, this is my advice for used car buyers.
Yeah.
Go up island or go back to the mainland.
Get it and drive it over.
There's just more supply, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know why it's cheaper up island, but it is. So those are some of the things that I noticed.
Yeah. And I would say to add to that, with the food cost being a little bit higher, it's because it doesn't get driven here. I mean, it does, but it's got to come on a boat.
That's part of the island cost, right?
Yeah. It's got to get on the ferry to get here. So.
And fuel is a little bit more expensive.
Sure.
But it's cheaper up island.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Even Duncan, right?
Yeah, even Duncan, it's a little bit less money.
Okay.
But our winters are better than the rest of Canada typically.
Yeah.
We have mild winters.
Yeah.
So it costs you less on your utilities to keep your house warm. During the winter. So there's a bit of a gap there, where if we were talking about the cost of living, let's say back east somewhere, you're going to have to add that additional cost of heating your home, and I bet you this is probably why fuel prices for your vehicle are more expensive. I bet you we put less miles on our cars here than we do back east, where commuting times, it would be normal. Hamilton to Toronto, we're doing 140 kilometers an hour for 45 minutes, and we can get to the airport over there in Toronto and do whatever work you have to do. So we don't drive as fast here.
That is true.
And I think our commuting distances are shorter.
Yeah.
So there's a give and take, but the thing that stands out the most is real estate and rental prices.
Okay.
Did I miss anything?
In terms of driving, that slower traffic keep right doesn't mean the same thing here as it does in other provinces.
It doesn't. Right. Okay. I'm not going to pick on the drivers
on the
here
highways.
yet.
Right. On the highways.
So the next thing, especially in the summer, if you enjoy going downtown and enjoying the social life, even though we've talked about Victoria shuts down fairly early, it's the tourists. So we're a tourist destination. A lot of Americans, a lot of Europeans, a lot of everybody comes here to visit.
Yeah.
If it's in Tofino, Bouchard Gardens, downtown, the Empress Hotel, the Parliament Building, Fisherman's Wharf, on and on and on, right? There's a lot of things to see. So in the summer, the traffic is busier. If you're getting here by ferry, then there's more traffic altogether. Like, oh, lots of camping opportunities, hiking. All over the island, there's a lot of opportunities. So, but it draws a lot of people to come here. We're one of those destinations.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit for me to get used to. It's like, oh, I wanted to avoid downtown during the summer and only go there if I have to.
Sure.
Since I live in the suburbs.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything to add?
No, I would agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, maybe, I don't know what Edmonton's like, but Hamilton driving to Toronto, I've got nothing to complain about, but everybody here seems to say something about the traffic. If they have to commute to one of the burbs, one of the other municipalities, if they work downtown, I think we here, we value our time and our lifestyle that much where we start to notice the time that's being spent in traffic. Where back east, it seemed like an hour to get to work was no problem.
Yeah, same in Edmonton, I think. I think the difference also is the infrastructure here, admittedly, is not the greatest.
That's a good point, because we don't have many ways to get up island.
Right.
Or to Souk.
Right.
Right. We have the constraints of being on an island.
Yeah. Yeah, and so you don't have, big wide highways and high speed limits and slower traffic, keep right.
Slower traffic. You're going to keep saying that one, right? You're going to pick. Is that driving you nuts?
Yeah.
Is that bothering you today? No.
Doesn't bother me at all.
Okay. Okay, so that's traffic. Number 4.
Okay.
Shopping and entertainment choices are limited. And we talked about before Victoria shutting down a little bit early in the evening.
Yeah.
But shopping and entertainment, it's not like Vancouver.
Yeah.
If you like shopping for clothing, there's limited choices. I think for men's clothing, like if
for sure
suits or something like that.
Yeah.
There's not that. There's some great boutique options out there, but it's limited.
Yeah.
And entertainment, we said this before. There's not like big sports leagues. We have a smaller population in Vancouver and Seattle, so maybe we don't get the big rock concerts that we would normally get if we were in a big city.
Yeah.
So just knowing that before coming here, if you want to go see the Canucks game, you're gonna fly or get on the ferry to Vancouver. Yeah.
Okay.
Number 5. People have been telling me about this ever since first time I came to Victoria.
Okay.
And it's the big one. When is the big one gonna happen? So Vancouver Island is on a fault line. Ever since I ever heard about Victoria, there's going to be a big earthquake.
There's going to be an earthquake.
Right, so we're 300 years overdue.
Us in California.
And California?
Isn't California waiting for the
We're all
one?
on the same fault line.
Is that San Andreas fault line?
Yeah, whatever. That's how much we, we're aware of it. Have I thought about it? Yeah, I thought like, well, what if there's a tsunami? And it's like, well, I don't live right beside the ocean. I'm pretty elevated. You're a lot closer to the ocean.
I'm closer to the ocean.
Yeah, you might be more at risk if it ever does happen, right?
Yeah.
But it's not something that I think locals really worry about.
Yeah.
We might talk about it. It might be on the news once in a while.
Right.
But it doesn't seem to be a big concern. But it's something, it's good to know before you move here. Number 6 I've got as the weather. So,
you like in the winter?
Well,
it's raining.
Exactly. That first winter I was here, it was like a record straight raining for the first time, and I was happy because nothing was frozen.
Yeah.
Right. I was okay with that.
Yeah.
But it gets pretty gloomy. It's not like winters in Edmonton.
Yeah.
As far as I understand, it's sunny.
Edmonton
but it's cold.
Edmonton is sunny, and it's not always that cold in Edmonton either. But it's sunny, and there's snow, and it's clear and crisp, and it's interesting you bring that up because a client of mine who came here, that was one of the biggest adjustments for him. He moved here from Edmonton. Yeah. And that was one of his biggest adjustments was to the winter.
It's dark.
It's dark, it's gloomy, and also that goes with that is all the trees.
Oh.
Like, it's okay to have trees, and Edmonton's a wooded area as well and stuff, but you still have, lots of horizon.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Right? So you combine the less horizon to look at with rain and cloudy.
So you're kind of
and you're feeling a little closed in, and So yeah, I've heard that for sure.
And then the summers, it's not hot and humid like I'm used to in Ontario, which was a long time ago now. But it gets really dry here, right? So we're in the rain shadow of the Olympic Mountains, however that works. I'm not a weatherman, that kind of thing, meteorologist. But we're in the rain shadow, so we get less rain from whatever mountains out there.
Yeah.
So Vancouver and Lower Mainland get more rain than
Way
us.
more rain. Yeah.
So it tends to be quite dry in the summertime. We're almost like, oh yes, thank you so much that it's raining. Hopefully for fires,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's always a risk of wildfires around here. Luckily, I think we're getting away pretty good.
We're done now because we're just starting to get the rain.
We're just getting the rain now, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, weather. That's how the weather is.
Okay.
Number 7, I would say this is mostly for downtown Victoria. Downtown's still a small city, but it has big city problems on a smaller scale. And I'm talking about homelessness and open drug use.
Yeah.
It's not on the scale as what's it called, East Hastings in Vancouver. It's not just, but it's just it's a scaled down version of that.
Yeah.
And I think we're aware of all the streets and like all the shelters. So if you're looking for a place in Victoria and you want to know which areas to avoid, well, we can obviously help with that, right?
Yeah.
And that's an ongoing issue for Victoria. It's sort of that black eye that like we can't hide it.
I think
It is what it is.
Yeah, homelessness is an issue not just here, but in most cities, period, nowadays. And I
Yeah.
think one of the things here is because of the milder climate, it may be, a little more prevalent. Whereas, for example, I'll go back to Edmonton. When it's minus 20 or 30,
Yeah.
it's not that you do away with the homeless people, but what they do is they do open up all the churches open up and the subway stations open up and those kind of things, so that they have a place to
That's
stay.
shelter.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they don't freeze.
Yeah.
So I would say that's mostly a downtown issue.
Yeah.
Not to say it isn't in like the Western communities or somewhere else. It's just not visible like it is downtown.
Yeah. And, I think the other part is there's ongoing efforts to address it, but it's a pretty complicated issue.
Oh yeah, and we can't pretend to like have the solutions for that. But
Yeah.
but just warning people.
Yeah.
Because I could go downtown. We spent downtown. We don't really go out much, like for nightlife. But we did some celebrating, and I feel completely safe downtown in
Oh,
the middle
sure.
at night.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other people around, so it doesn't feel unsafe.
Yeah.
So but to be aware of that, right?
Yeah.
And the last one would be, because we're on an island, traveling.
Traveling.
So getting to and from the island is that extra step. Like, what is the YYJ? It's supposed to be an international airport. Like, where does it go? Like, direct flights from Victoria. You might get Hawaii.
Vancouver.
Yeah, you get a direct flight
Direct
to
flight
Vancouver.
to Vancouver or Seattle.
And if you actually want to go anywhere, you have to go through Edmonton. It's pretty much like all the connecting flights. You fly from Victoria to Vancouver or Victoria to Edmonton, and then Victoria to Vancouver, and then Edmonton, and then you go to Europe or Mexico or wherever.
I'm
Vegas.
trying to remember the last time I flew out east. I went through Calgary. Just going to Ontario, we went through Calgary.
Yeah.
So landed in Calgary, switched, hopped onto a different plane, and then off we went.
So there's a little bit to getting to and from flight-wise. There's a little bit more time and
Yeah.
planning, but then ferries.
Ferries, yeah.
So I can't remember exactly what the cost of a ferry is for like a car. I think us in the minivan, there's 6 of us. So they're charging us for 4 adults and 2 kids, and it's probably like $140 something like that.
Okay.
So that's one way. And then
Yeah.
of course, you can't go on the ferry for an hour and a half without eating. We have to go and eat food, right?
Right.
It's just, I don't know why,
Well,
right? But
That presumes that you've made it onto the ferry. I think that's the other thing about the ferry that we need to talk about. If you're talking about that,
life
is-
on the island, you have to accept that if you're going on the ferry, you might not get on the ferry that you want to get on.
right,
and then just you live in the parking lot for the next hour, and you look around, or you have a coffee, and
or whatever. Or maybe you don't make it on that day. I remember we were last year.
Oh, no.
Yeah, last year when we were going we were going to a football game. So I had scheduled everything accordingly, and then from the football game we were heading to Whistler. So overnight in Vancouver, or go to Vancouver, watch the football game overnight, and then off to Whistler the next morning. So something happens on a ferry in Nanaimo, and because of that, one of the crews ends up working a longer period of time to resolve the issue.
Yeah.
And they can't go back to work for a certain period of time.
For safety, whatever it is.
Yeah. And so as a result, one ferry, I don't know exactly how that works, but one crew is out.
Right. Because they can't run the next one.
Right.
Yeah.
So now when we were trying to go to the ferry, it was backed up almost to Sydney. And I just turned around. I was like, okay, we're going to reschedule all of this, and we're going to miss the football game.
That's part of living on the island. Right?
Yes.
And that's not even counting weather.
Yeah.
But there's been a couple instances, I'm not saying this like, oh, the ferry's going to crash. They've bumped into things. You know, if it's the dock or whatever.
Yeah.
You're working with Mother Nature.
Yeah.
And a huge ship, right?
Yeah.
Well,
and it, again, like Patrick said, that's just the reality. We're not, beating up on anybody here. It's just the reality that you have to figure out the ferries if you're going anywhere, or a flight, or
you have to accept some of that unexpected.
Yeah.
Living on the island, especially if you want to come and go.
Yeah.
That you might have to plan ahead or I've never spent overnight in the parking lot at a ferry terminal, but I've been like the second last car, been the last car. Like it's been really close. The last ferry at night.
Even making it back, I remember in Tsawwassen being like, okay, we're getting on the next one, right? Well, we'll see what happens.
See what happens, right?
And so because we hadn't, for whatever reason, hadn't reserved the spot. So
well, I hope this gives you a bit of insight if you're thinking about moving to Vancouver Island or Victoria, that you get an idea of what to expect, so you're not shocked when you come here. Oh, you know what? I want to add one more.
Okay.
Friends. I've had so many people say to me that it's been tough when they first come here.
Yes.
It's tough to make new friends in Victoria.
Yeah.
But that'll be number 9 or 8B or something.
Yeah, and it's true where I've had people say the same thing as well, is that just for whatever reason, maybe it's because there is such a transient population here, that for people want to know that you're actually here.
Ooh, I'll put it this way. Victoria people are friendly, but they keep them to themselves. They'll be polite. If you need something, they'll help you.
Yeah.
But you either have to start like doing things in common, right? Have the same hobby, something like that, and then you can start getting connected and build a friendship, a sphere around you.
Yeah.
And go from there. So I got carried away, but I was about to wrap it up.
Okay.
So there's 9 things for you.
Things.
Great. Awesome.
9 things. Okay. Well, thank you for joining us today. If you haven't, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, helps us grow the channel. We have lots of great stuff coming up we're into the fall now as you're seeing this. So we have lots of great stuff coming up as we finish out this year, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome. See you in the next video.
See ya.